everything else in the bucket.
Bye, Stingray.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Shauna with Live the Season Life. Thank you so much for joining. And as you saw in the earlier clip, I just came off of a field trip with my son. You know, it's the last field trip of elementary school, and he asked me to come, so I went. And we went ocean seining. I don't know. You basically drag a net through shallow-ish water to see what you come up with, what kind of animals and things that you come out with, fish and such. And the whole thing is led by a marine biologist. So, you know, this is a informational, educational kind of experience. And they pulled up trout, they pulled up, I think an anchovy, they pulled up a stingray, a little small stingray. They pulled up a bunch of stuff. So it was a fun experience, you know, being someone who grew up in the South, in Georgia in particular, and I was completely landlocked. We didn't have go out to the ocean and you know, poke in the ocean and see what's in there kind of field trips. We went to Burger King, okay? We went to the park. We went to the city library. That's the kind of field trip that I grew up with. So comment down below and let me know, what kind of field trips did you have as a child? And you know, I'm talking about being a child of the 80s. And we didn't go to the ocean. We just didn't. And my senior trip was to Savannah. And even then we didn't go to the ocean. So they had a wonderful time. It was, you know, I realized on that trip how much of a blessing it is to have the flexibility to be in that space with my kid and to experience that with my kid, and to look back one day 20 years from now and see pictures of the experience on that field trip and what he saw and things like that. It's just, I don't know, it's just, I feel very grateful and very blessed for that. And I wanted to segue from that into something totally different. I was thinking about just as I was driving, and I wanted to do some content on this because I get asked this question all the time, and I am going to, you know, answer this and give you my perspective with the full knowledge that I had a bit of a moment myself this afternoon. I had a sweet tooth and it wasn't pretty, y'all. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. I did all the wrong things, okay? Let's just say your girl got something to eat that was not healthy at all. And I loved every second of it, but now I know I got to get back on track. So I wanted to talk to you about 5 things that I do to maintain a healthy diet that don't involve cooking, that don't involve a new recipe, that don't involve a whole new diet plan necessarily. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about is you have to edit, or at least I do. One of the most important things you can do is to edit your kitchen, right? Edit your kitchen, edit your pantry, edit those little hiding places for all those little candies and things that you hide, and get rid of it. Because you can't eat what's not in your house. Okay, I wouldn't have had a moment today with those caramels if I didn't have caramels in my house. That's just the truth. So as painful as it is, it's very helpful just to kind of go through and just be honest with yourself. Like, you don't need caramels in your house unless you're planning to use them for something specific, or it is a special occasion and you've chosen to, you know, pick up some caramels or whatever the case is, or whatever the unhealthy treat is. You know, if your thing is salty, get the potato chips out of your house, which is very hard to do when you have kids, because kids love and enjoy and ask for all the things that we as adults know that aren't the best and the healthiest for us. So it's hard to do that with kids in the house. It was much easier before we had kids, and I could literally audit my kitchen and keep in my kitchen only the things that I wanted to eat, which was fabulous. But, you know, with kids around, they're always pining for snacks and stuff like that. It is what it is. So you got to audit, and you have to be realistic about what's in your kitchen, what's in your house, and getting rid of the things that you know are not going to serve you. And if you have things in your house that you enjoy, like for example, if you're a salty person, instead of keeping potato chips, try to find a salty alternative. So for example, skinny popcorn, popcorns that aren't covered in movie theater butter, which one might say, oh, that's not good popcorn. I'm going to link it below. I have a reel on making olive oil popcorn it is delicious. So edit your kitchen, okay? I'll be right back. Number 2, when you're thinking about eating healthy and trying to figure out new tips and tricks for eating healthy, you got to plan ahead. You got to plan ahead. You know, I always get asked the question about what's quick and healthy, what's quick and healthy. Sometimes healthy is not quick. It is what it is. You're going to have to take the time to buy the carrots, wash the carrots, chop the carrots, or chop the celery, or, prep the salads. It's gonna take time. Not everything is quick and healthy. And to that effect, because so many of us are running around and busy and doing all the things, you also have to realize that you're gonna have to take some time and figure out how to carve in time. I don't know if it's the night before or 2 days before. I know a lot of folks take all day Sundays to do as much prep work as they can with regard to food. But take that time to plan ahead and prep things so that they're ready to grab and go. Because sometimes you're so busy, you don't have time to chop the salad when it's time for dinner. And if you're like me, when it's time to eat, I don't want to cook, I want to eat. So I've been the queen of cooking dinner 2 nights ahead of time, or a night ahead of time, if you will, to make sure that it's ready to go when I need for dinner to be ready to go. So planning ahead is a huge thing that you can do. And just like I said, look at your schedule, what works for you, what works for your family, get your kids involved. If it's, if you're assuming your children are old enough to handle knives and chop things, if it's going the old fashioned route of, calling, which I've done this with my daughter before, and she didn't get the nostalgia of it because, we don't live close to family. So she doesn't get the full effect of, the women sitting around the table snapping green beans. But I've called my daughter in and like, hey, snap these green beans with me. So it becomes more of a family experience, and you're teaching your kids about food prep at the same time. So bring the kids into it as much as possible. But planning ahead is huge. And my daughter is old enough now to where I can give her a recipe and she can go off and cook the recipe. So some of my planning ahead occasionally might be a fact of prepping the grocery list, going out and doing the grocery shopping and letting my daughter know, hey, on Tuesday, you're responsible for cooking dinner and this is what you should cook, or what is it you want to cook for dinner on Tuesday, so we can go ahead and plan for it. So that way you're continuing to eat healthy and preparing for it. You're teaching your kids the skill of preparing for and planning meals, which is an important skill to learn. But planning ahead, it's just golden. It's just golden. Planning ahead is going to be where it's at. Okay. So get the crap out of your kitchen. The things, and especially those things you have, that Halloween candy that you have stashed in the pantry, all the way in the back, on the left, at the top, get the stash and get rid of it, okay? Because as long as you know the stash is there, you know there's an out to getting that sweet tooth met. So the next thing that I want to talk about is knowing your rhythm. My rhythm happens to be, when I wake up first thing in the morning, I am hungry for breakfast. Not everybody wants breakfast first thing in the morning. When I get to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm hungry for dinner at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It is what it is. And I used to try to, fight it and be like, 4 o'clock is too early for dinner. I'm just going to have a snack and then have dinner at 6, like a normal person or whatever. But the reality is the only normal that exists is the normal that exists for you. So if your body wants dinner at 4 o'clock, eat dinner at 4 o'clock. If your body does not want breakfast at all in the mornings, then don't eat breakfast in the mornings. Eat when your body is asking you to eat. As long as you're being healthy and eating something and eating as much, whole food, plant-based, or whatever healthy looks like to you, that's what's important. And for me, that is my rhythm. I also know that my rhythm has to do with recognizing when my body needs food. And in particular, I know that when I haven't gotten enough sleep, or I'm super tired, or was up late last night, or it was a perimenopausal night, or working late last night, or, the kids were up for whatever reason last night and I didn't get enough sleep, I know that my body is going to crave sweets the next day. It is what it is. My brain is looking for sugar to help sustain it and help keep it awake. Therefore, it's going to crave sugar and sweets. And then here I go, eating a bunch of caramels. That is not the business. What I'm trying to train myself to do instead is, instead of when I know that I'm tired in the middle of the day and trying to grab caramels or grab chocolates or whatever the craving my brain asks for, just take a nap. Just take a power nap, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just take a nap. And granted, not everybody has the luxury to take a nap in the middle of the day, but when I worked downtown, or when I worked from an office and not working from home, it was nothing for me to close my office door, lock it, close the blinds, turn the lights off so nobody thinks I'm there, and take a nap. Because the thing is, my brain is looking to be rejuvenated, and that's not going to happen if I'm not going to take the time to rejuvenate. So taking that nap is everything to me. A little siesta never hurt anybody. So take a nap if you need to take a nap. So know your rhythm when it comes to eating. If you know that after a workout, you're going to be completely famished, then pre-plan and prep your meal before you have your workout. Of course, always stay super hydrated. Another thing, of course, is, you know when your body needs water. And honestly, you should be drinking water before you get thirsty. I am terrible at this right now, and I'm trying to improve. I used to drink water by the gallon like it was nothing, and I have not been doing that lately. So I need to get myself together with regard to hydration sooner rather than later. But know your rhythm, know your body's rhythm, when your body craves food and when it doesn't, what kind of foods it craves. And when it's craving those junk foods, ask yourself the question of, what is happening in my life right now that is off for me, right? If it's off schedule or out of habit, what is happening around me? Am I really tired? Did I have a very anxiety-inducing moment? Am I really stressed out right now? Like, why am I actually eating these junk foods that I know are not good for me? And how do I kind of modify my behavior to support a healthier choice or a healthier option rather than eating the junk food, okay? So when it comes to figuring out how to eat healthy without a recipe, another thing that you can do is know your body's rhythm. And it's gonna take you, you may be able to sit for like 10 minutes and just figure it out on your own. For other folks, it might be a matter of kind of keeping a journal of, this is when I grab for a Snickers bar, or this is when I grab for caramels, or this is when I grab for whatever, and writing down, what was going on in my life that caused me to want to have whatever that piece of junk food was. And in fact, I have a friend who went through a lot of gut issues recently, and she created a journal that is all about how do you kind of document your eating so that you can go to your healthcare provider with an informed catalog of, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm going through, to help get to a better diagnosis and strengthen your ability to get the treatment that you need. And I'm going to link that below. She's got it on Amazon. It's a really great resource to use. So like I said, toss the junk food, plan ahead, know your rhythm. The next thing is accountability partner. This is critical. You need to have people in your life that know that you're trying to eat healthy and who can help hold you accountable, so that when they see you grabbing those chips, they can say, hey sis, what's going on with those chips? I thought we were eating healthy this week. Or here's some almonds instead. Or here's some such and such instead. Or when you're going out to dinner, to offer you, hey, why don't we go to, this healthier restaurant rather than going to, I don't know, Longhorns or Houston's or whatever the case is. Or let's check the menu to figure out what we can eat healthy. Somebody who is aware that you have certain health goals and they want to see you succeed, having accountability partners around you, whoever you feel comfortable with sharing that you're on a health journey, is so important, so they can help hold you accountable for the goals that you have to yourself and to your body. Because this body, we only get one. So you got to take care of it, or else it's going to trash. And we're not doing trash bodies in 2026 or ever, if we can stand it. So have an accountability partner. Also have your family hold you accountable as well. And to what extent your kids can help, ask for their help. If it's a matter of sort of researching to figure out, what kind of foods, what kind of fruits do all the family members like? Or, like I know my son is a green grape kid and my daughter is a red grape kid and my husband is a mango kind of guy. And I'm much more on berries, honestly. Just kind of, making it more of an interesting experience. And one thing I used to do with my kids, I haven't done with them in a while, and I need to get back to this, is I would go in the grocery store with them and we'd go into the produce section and I would say, I want y'all to go and look at the produce. Anything you don't recognize, bring it to me. Let's talk about it and let's see if there's a dish that we can make with it. Or let's, if it's dragon fruit, for example, let's just get one and go home and try it and taste it and see what dragon fruit tastes like. To whatever extent your budget will allow, but that way it's kind of sparking curiosity around different foods, and it's causing or kind of developing that habit within your kids and helping them to hold you accountable to, hey mom, I thought we said that we were going to eat, more pomegranate or more berries or more oranges, whatever the case is. And, by the way, mom, my friend at school had navel oranges instead of having mandarins. Can we try navel oranges? Whatever the case may be. Last but not least, and this goes back to that book that I mentioned to you before that my friend created with regards to the food journal, talking to your physician is important. If you have a healthcare provider, whoever that healthcare provider is, that is important. Letting them know that you are pursuing this journey of improving your health outcomes, improving your nutrition, improving your diet, and asking them, do you have a sample menu, or do you have some recommendations for me of what I should be looking up in order to have a diet plan that works for eating whole food, plant-based, or reducing fried foods, or whatever the case is. You will be surprised at the resources that your doctors have available to you. And even if there are resources that the doctors don't follow themselves, they at least know about them and can share them with you. And that's free. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna say it's free, because obviously we know doctor's visits are not free. Obviously there's co-pays, and if you don't have insurance, it's even worse. But to whatever extent that you can ask a healthcare provider. If you don't have insurance and you can't go to a doctor, go to the grocery store, to the pharmacy counter, and ask the pharmacist. Pharmacists are clutch. Let me tell you, they are clutch, and they are an underutilized resource because they know a lot about a lot of things, and you'll be surprised at the amount of information you can get out of your pharmacist. And they're happy and willing to help and share this information because they're concerned as well about your health and well-being. So utilize your healthcare provider, utilize whether it's a doctor, whether it is going into the pharmacy department. And actually, if you go to the pharmacy department, that's free. You can walk into your local Walmart, your local Publix, Harris Teeter, Kroger, BJ, whatever your grocery store is, and go to the pharmacy counter and just say, hey, I had a couple questions for you. Can we talk about X real quick? You'll be surprised at what you can find out. Of course, there are plenty of resources online, but sometimes it's just helpful to talk to someone who has a knowledge base or can steer you in a specific direction, because obviously going online, it opens you up to everything. And sometimes we just need to narrow that down a little bit. So, or even ask them, hey, I heard about keto. Is keto a real thing? Or whole food, plant-based, do you have any books you can recommend, or where should I go? That is super helpful. So again, if you are trying to improve your diet, improve your health, and you don't have time for recipes, but just want some broader ideas and concepts, again, toss out the junk food. It is what it is. Have a funeral for it if you need. Give it to a friend or bury it in the backyard, or whatever the case is. Those delicious chocolates that you got for Valentine's Day, just let them go. Let them go, friends. And if you have something this is a side note on this. If you have something that you enjoy, once you open the bag and have the first one, it's all downhill from there. When it comes to Halloween candy in specifics, I'm going to get back on topic in a minute. When it comes to Halloween candy, I have found all you got to do is keep yourself from eating the first piece of Halloween candy. If you can keep yourself from eating the first Halloween candy, you can keep yourself from eating all the Halloween candy, because it's just like that very first taste you get. And then all of a sudden, you got to have a Snickers bar. Every time you pass the Halloween bag in October, you got to grab a Kit Kat, you got to grab a Reese's, you got to grab a whatever. But as long as you don't have that first one, you're golden. And then also talking to your healthcare provider, whoever that is, whether it's your physician or your chiropractor or your pharmacist at the grocery store, which all of us have access to that. Just walk into a grocery store and go to the pharmacy counter. All those are ways that you can improve your diet and improve your nutrition without having to find another recipe, okay? I hope this has been helpful for you. Comment down below and let me know which one of these tips, one of these 5 tips that I've shared with you, are you going to try first. I'm curious to know which one makes the most sense for you, that you think is most attainable for you. I am going to get back on track tomorrow. Since I had my caramels today, I'm good. I don't need to have nothing else for the rest of the week if I can help it, because caramels, we know, is just sugar and butter and vanilla extract. It was bad, y'all. But tomorrow's a new day. All right. Please like this video if you got something out of it, and I hope that you would consider subscribing. I appreciate you for being here, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.